Comfort will ruin your life. Comfort zone, growth zone, danger zone. Most of the time, we try to flee from difficulty. But we must remember that difficulty and hardships are crucial to progress and development. Here are 3 of the most compelling arguments for pushing past your fears and trying something new. And in conclusion, maybe you'll feel motivated to take on a challenging task today. So, let's begin. Most people are working in this box right here. This is our comfort zone. Everyone has one, and we like being in it. Most of the time, it looks like getting a degree or a promotion at work, where we do what we need to do to get by. Scrolling on social media while lying in bed, socializing with the same people, and turning a deaf ear to new ideas and opinions are some examples of what we do to remain in the box. Essentially, it implies choosing the road with the least opposition. Life becomes a regular pattern with few significant difficulties, and we grow stagnant. And it's simple to see why the majority of people live here for the bulk of their life. As the name says, we're at ease here, since we're not pushing ourselves. At first sight, nothing appears to be wrong with it. Why would we willingly place ourselves in a situation of conflict if we didn't have to? However, if we solely spend our life in our comfort zone, we may inadvertently do ourselves an injustice. You see, there's one major drawback to staying in our safe zone, despite how pleasant it is most of the time. Those who remain here for an extended period of time not only fail to advance, but frequently go backward. Repeating the same routine over and over again causes the comfort zone to contract. In the past, you found comfort in this, but today, it's less appealing. Allow me to illustrate with an example. People who suffer from social anxiety typically dislike the prospect of making new friends, since it is already outside of their box. Consequently, they would rather be alone, or if they must interact with others, they do so only with persons they already know well. This is perfectly okay. But suppose this individual gradually withdraws from their present social circle and becomes even more introverted. Eventually, the space they currently feel safe in will shrink. When people avoid facing their fears, those fears tend to grow, and it may become more challenging just to think of contacting their present circle of friends. As you can see, succumbing to current comfort might lead to future suffering. When a muscle is not utilized for an extended length of time, it atrophies and shrinks, since there is no need for it to remain large. The same thing happens when we don't push ourselves. We grow less capable of dealing with challenges that life throws at us. That is the first reason why I encourage you to strive to accomplish something challenging every day. You don't want to stay stagnant and make your current comforts become uncomfortable in the future, do you? However, we leave our comfort zone when we push ourselves to accomplish something a little more difficult or hard. Then, the growth zone is reached. Here is where we struggle and where we may feel like incompetent fools. Yet here is precisely where all genuine progress is accomplished. And you probably have observed this yourself. This is a prerequisite for everything important, as the things with the greatest payback always feel tough at the moment. There is no advancement without difficulty. Take note of that. Of course, the comfort zone isn't just one single zone for everything. We have many zones. You may be excelling in some of them, stagnating in others, and even declining in others. For instance, you may be regressing in your communication abilities, remaining stagnant in your work, while pushing yourself to the maximum in poetry. Each of us must choose which zone requires more work. And it is quite okay to stop advancing in certain areas, if you are satisfied with where you are. There is no need to exert oneself in every endeavor. But if you are unhappy with your current situation, there are a few strategies to transition from comfort to growth. Most likely, you may think of an area in your life where you feel stuck and would like to make some changes. There are 3 approaches you may take. The first way is by doing it more consistently. The second way is by doing it more intensely. And lastly, do it for a longer time frame. All 3 of them will make whatever it is you're working on more challenging. Taking voice lessons, for example. Firstly, doing it more consistently simply means that instead of attending a voice session twice a week, you try to make it 3 days a week. Since you are doing it more often, it becomes more challenging. But this also helps consolidate the behavior and makes it more likely for you to do it in the future as well. Secondly, doing it more intensely means that you do a more potent version of what you usually do. This might mean trying something new, like singing a song with many riffs and runs or trying a rap song. Basically, instead of singing at 50% of your capacity, you increase it to 70%. The fact that you are not always performing the same motions makes the learning more interesting and enjoyable. Thirdly, doing it for longer periods simply means spending more time on it. So, if you usually attend the session for an hour, make it 2. Essentially, you exert a bit more effort and persist a little longer than usual. And all of this can be applied to pretty much any activity. All 3 of those approaches may help you go from a position of comfort to growth. But some of them are more effective than others, depending on the subject you're working on. For example, if you're working out in the gym, you will find that it's actually better to work out 3 days a week for 30 minutes than working out for a straight hour and 30 minutes in a day. Additionally, you shouldn't necessarily employ all 3 approaches at once, because it would be too much too quickly. Instead, you should choose one. Then when you're ready, expand on it. Now, here's the question. So, why don't more people leave their comfort zones if it's plainly beneficial? Well, that's because there's actually a third zone. If someone were to push themselves too far out of their comfort zone, they just might pass the growth zone and go straight into the danger zone. This is why we are uneasy in the first place. There is such a thing as overextending oneself. After all, if you play the guitar too frequently, your hand may suffer, and pain is a really valuable alert, protecting you from being wounded, which would certainly set you back more. So it's no surprise that most individuals stay in their comfort zones. They are determined to avoid the danger zone at any costs. Unfortunately, many individuals, when seeking to make a positive change in their lives, enter the danger zone. You might have known someone who wanted to improve their physical health, joined the gym, and promised to follow a strict diet and rigorous workout. But, not long enough, they were back to their sedentary lifestyle. These are examples of people who took on too much and too quickly. And this is a very common occurrence when trying to leave the comfort zone. However, failing to stick to a plan isn't even the worst part. The bigger issue people now have is that because they fail at keeping up with their high expectations, they also feed their belief that it's entirely impossible for them to change and grow. This discourages them from making any efforts in the future. They feel like losers who shouldn't even attempt again. But what should we do about this problem? How can we facilitate stepping outside of our comfort zone to work in the growth zone, but at the same time, avoid the danger zone? To make a positive change, we need to challenge ourselves. But it doesn't require that you accomplish everything at once. Small, reasonable steps taken over time are a far more successful strategy. After all, if someone has never exercised before, but now wants to become in shape, it would be unhelpful for them to immediately start running for 2 hours, 5 days a week. Their odds of success are far higher if they just begin with something they're actually capable of doing, like jogging 2 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes. Then, and only then, should they attempt to advance forward. Keep in mind that you can't make a major change if you can't even make a tiny one. The creation of a positive feedback loop is another advantage of taking it gradually. You show to yourself that you can really change and develop by successfully completing the task at hand. And even if it's small, this evidence of improvement gives you great satisfaction and increases your confidence. This encourages perseverance, which helps people overcome additional difficulties later on. In essence, if you continue to step outside of your comfort zone, success tends to feed on itself. Additionally, positive feedback loops have a tendency to progressively extend to other regions once they become established in one. And that is a third reason why I urge you to do something challenging each day. The positive feedback loop begins wherever you are able to step beyond your comfort zone, even just a little. Success also encourages further success, much like falling dominoes. That being said, you shouldn't push past your comfort zone all the time. Stop being a jack of all trades. Instead, try pushing yourself in 1 or 2 areas of your life. Then let the other areas of your life return to their comfort zone. This allows you to maintain your current zone, but also get sufficient rest and recovery. Otherwise, you'll feel stressed and burnt out. You wish to advance with time. However, you should also allow your comfort zone some time to adjust to the new requirements. To achieve that, you must first step outside of your comfort zone by undertaking a challenging task. However, you can't keep growing forever. Instead, you lessen the difficulty and only slightly extend beyond your previous comfort zone when it starts to seem too overwhelming. This keeps you from burning out by enabling you to become acclimated to the new layer and allowing your comfort zone to catch up to your new expectations. You only push past your new comfort zone once you've adjusted to the demands and feel ready to continue improving. When it gets too hard, you recede slightly above the previous position. You challenge yourself, but stop when it gets too hard. Repeat until you attain your goal. Think of your comfort zone as a place of temporary refuge, but not a permanent residence. This video isn't meant to push you to exhaustion. I'm trying to persuade you to pick a worthwhile challenge so you may improve your skills. Many people give up at the first sign of failure or discomfort and never know their full potential. After all, how can you know your limit if you never push yourself? Remember that only those who go past their comfort zones and accept difficulty may realize their potential. Do something tough today. Read more, practice more, run more towards improvement. Start challenging yourself from this day forward. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, all the best, and see you next time.